Good morning. Welcome to CoachesCorner.health. We're so glad you're here. If this is your first time, we want to say welcome. And if you're a seasoned veteran, you've been with us for a while, welcome back. Last week's video was about a busy professional's guide to dating and figuring out how to balance work and personal life. And today we're diving into how to find your match, knowing that you're ready to date. And now what? You're ready to start looking, but where do you start? And we're going to talk about that and more. But first, before we get started, let me tell you who I am. I'm Leslie Cadet, self care coach. I specialize in helping female coaches and course creators prioritize self care to support their lifestyle so they can wake up with more energy, focus, and intention to tackle their daily activities and serve their clients with confidence. Andy, please tell us who you are.
I love your introduction. Thank you, Leslie. Hello, everybody. I am Andy Lidstone. I am the unconditional coach. I help people with boundaries issues. I help people set boundaries, create boundaries, and I also help people with control issues. I help people with many different kinds of things, but those are the two focuses I have for most of the time. Um, Thank you for joining us, and I'm excited about the topic we're talking about today. How to find your match, how to actually start dating. Like, where do we look? Where do we go? Where did you go several years ago? We won't count how many. When you were looking to
This.
date.
Yes. Well, you don't have to feel afraid to say it. It's almost 3 decades ago. So yes,
Yeah,
really,
you've been married
almost
a
three
long time.
decades ago. Married a
It's a
very
good
long
thing.
time. Yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, it hasn't always been sunshine and roses, but it's had its challenges. But that's what life is.
Yeah,
Life together with another human being isn't always going to be easy because, well, you're two different people and you're not
right.
in you don't always have this, you don't always share the same ideas, you don't always agree on everything. So yeah, for me, I think today's world, I'm not really sure where I would start, but I know where I did when I was single, and that
Mhm.
was I went out a lot with my friends. I made sure that I was with other people because that kind
Yeah,
of gives you that comfort zone of when you are meeting
yeah,
someone else, if you are looking to meet someone else, that you have, your support system with you. And that's kind of like how I did it. I would go out to different, clubs where I would go dancing with my friends and meet people there. Now,
mhm.
I didn't always I would say I wasn't always on the lookout to meet someone, but
Right.
when I was single, that is where I would go. I would go out dancing with my friends. We would spend time together doing those things, and in the process, meet the opposite sex, which was who I was attracted to. So I would meet men at different clubs, and in the process of doing that, I met some really incredible people that I was able to date. Some not so much, but
Mhm.
that's where I met. That's how I met my husband.
Right. Beautiful. And I like that because that's a pretty common story for a lot of people. I think that's I don't know if it still is, but it has been the first place that a lot of us look, because we could just go out to the club. We go out, we go dancing, we go hang out with our friends, just go out and be social. And I do that in a kind of a way too. I don't go out to the clubs per se, but I have joined different dance clubs, right? So where they teach dancing and they do social dancing, and there's uh, quite often there is no alcohol available. It's just like at a community hall or at an event place or something like that, and it really is just a DJ setting up, and then some professionals teaching, beginner lessons or something like that, and then a bunch of us showing up just to go social dancing for 2 or 3 hours. Um, I haven't done that for very much for the past couple of years, just because of the way the world is working. But I had been doing that for several years, and I went again last night. That's where I meet a lot of the people that I would potentially be interested in. Plus, on the dance floor, you really get to test what kind of a person they are. How well do they connect with you on the dance floor? How well do they communicate with you on the dance floor? Because when you're dancing, there's not a lot of time for talking. You're just dancing most of the time. There might be a little bit of conversation, but that's not what the point is. It really is about the chemistry. Am I interested in you? Are you interested in me? And here's, a couple minutes to try and test that out, see what that feels like. And then if there is something there, then often you find the space and time off the dance floor to go and chat and talk, and get to know each other a little better. And so I like that, and that is a common place for people to go. And I would suggest going out to the clubs with your friends, and if you don't have friends, find a local dance club. Like literally, look for a place where people go to learn dancing and to just social dance. One thing I found a lot of people don't know is these dance clubs, like where you find them on Meetup or something like that, where they actually teach dancing. A lot of people don't know that they actually encourage singles to join. You don't need to have a partner to join. As a matter of fact, oftentimes the singles have, they learn faster, they dance better, simply because they're dancing with many different kinds of people rather than coming with their significant other and each of them trying to learn at the same time. I know when I first joined, I joined with my at the time she was my wife, but my ex-wife, her and I joined together. And because we were dancing mostly exclusively, it took us somewhat longer to learn actually how to dance than it would have been had we, just danced with as many different people as possible. So, yeah, go to the clubs with your friends and learn how to dance and do other social things like that. Go to a pool hall with your friends, go out and do things with your friends. And if you don't have friends, find local clubs to join, because that's another place to, to get used to meet new people and be around other people. So yeah, I would start there. Just go out with people, right?
Yeah,
I
and
think
I
that's a
like
great idea.
that. And I like
Yeah,
that
me too.
because we're living in such a digital virtual world where people use dating apps. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but I think it takes away from the first impression experience of, because when you meet someone for real the first time, that impression is definitely what you're going to remember, like that first encounter. But when
Yeah.
you're online, I mean, and again, let's just like let's take a look at just like my own experience when I met my, not, I didn't know he was going to be my husband, but when I first met him, we met on a Friday night. We were at a dance club. He asked me to dance. We were dancing, and then he asked for my number. And of course, I didn't like to give my number out, so he gave me his.
Right.
And then over the next few days, we talked like several hours at a time, and then we met up. So I got to, I guess, kind of like that. There's this new experiment where people are dating um, without seeing each other before they get together.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of like how we did it, whereas we sort of dated, but we didn't see each other. We just talked on the phone. And but I still had the immediate first impression of like, do I want to actually talk to this person or
Hmm.
not before actually taking that next step. And so that's kind of like what we did. We talked for hours, and then a few, for a few days, and then we got together and had our first, what you would call our official date, our first official date. And I think it is really good to actually have those in person connections or experiences first, as a way to see, like you said, it's to find that if that chemistry is right, because looking at someone's photograph and reading about them is great, and you'll get to know because they're writing, but how much of that is the real version of them, number
Hmm.
one. And then when you meet them for the first time, you have this expectation based around what they wrote about themselves. And what if you're now, all that you're thinking about is this stuff that they said about themselves that you haven't yet learned about them because you haven't actually started a relationship. So you don't really know if it's true or not, but already you've gone into it with that expectation. Could right
Hmm.
out the gate, I would believe, could sometimes maybe make it harder to
Hmm.
actually be yourself,
Yeah.
because you've already written about, I like to take long walks on the beach. I'm very romantic. I do the X, Y, and Z. And so showing up to the first meet, then there's already this huge expectation that you must meet what I've already read about you. So that's the only downside I see to dating apps, because it doesn't give you that first real initial first impression, like, meeting you, like you said, you go to these dances and you meet people on the dance floor. You're seeing if compatible, moving together, compatible. Do you have like the butterflies? Maybe you want to talk with them off the dance floor and maybe get to know them a little bit more. But you're
Mhm.
having that initial first impression right away. So that's kind of why I feel like, for me, to in today's dating world, I would probably find it a little bit challenging to actually try it, the new version that's out there, because and the other thing is too, one of the things I absolutely think I hate more than anything is I don't want someone asking me out on a date via text. If
Mhm.
you want me to go on a date with you, I want you to pick up the phone and I want you to call me and let's have a conversation and then you can
Mhm.
ask me out. That type of thing. Because I think that it's just, I don't know. I just find texting that, within that context is a little bit of laziness. And then how does that even really equate into like romance, right? So
Mhm.
that's just my take on it. I'm old school, and that's just because I am 60. So, I
Yeah.
come from that generation. What about
Yeah.
you?
My perspective is a bit different. I actually like the concept of the dating apps. I like the concept. I don't like how they've been implemented so far. Um, but I like the concept because I like the idea that I can put on some pictures of my best self and write about the favorite characteristics of myself. So basically, I'm creating a profile that puts my best foot forward, so that when we do go on a date, the the first impression has already been kind of out of the way. Um, and that way, when we do decide to meet up, the meeting is deciding it, like the date is to see if there's chemistry the second time. At the When I'm going dancing, the first impression is when I see them across the room or they see me across the room, right? And the first impression is usually um, based on purely our looks. Whereas in a dating app, it's based on your looks as well, yes, but it's also based on your profile. It's based on what you want people to know about yourself. And I like the idea of being able to advertise myself, being able to tell people what I want them to know about me, rather than them looking at me and making some things up of what they think I am, who they think I am, based on my looks and their past experience. Yes, that'll happen when we go on a date, but I'd rather that happen after I told them what I want them to know about me. So I I like that concept. Now that happens a lot less often. That's a lot less of actually how it happens on a dating app, but that's what I like about the concept of a dating app, the idea of using a dating app, social media, meeting online, that sort of stuff. It allows us to to basically create an advertisement. Like in advertising, they tell you only the good qualities of a product. They don't tell you all the negative stuff. And it's the same thing with the dating app, right? We only tell you the good things. Now, when we go and meet somebody for the first time, like when I meet somebody for the first time in a dance, we're only getting to connect through the chemistry, through the dance itself. Do we dance well together? I don't know if this person is a serial killer, if this person is married, or if they left their third husband behind at home to look after their second set of kids so they can come dancing and he doesn't know where she's at. Like, I don't know any of that, right? But on a dating app, at least I know she's looking. When I go dancing with somebody, as a matter of fact, there's quite often in the dance communities, there's this expectation that you're not supposed to date somebody within the community. Like, they don't want you joining a dance club to date. They want you joining the dance club to learn how to dance, and then maybe if you find out they're single and you're single, right? I found a lot of ladies that I dance with, I don't even know if they are single. I don't find out until much later. So I don't know who's available and who's not. At least on a dating app, I'm finding out who's telling me that they want to be dating, right? So there's some assumptions made right out of the gate on a dating app online that I don't have to then ask those questions. Out at a club, out at dancing, there's questions I have to ask. There's things I have to, there's assumptions that I can't safely make. So at the same time, I do like meeting people out of the dance club. Like I said when I started, that's my preferred way to meet people. But I do find it much harder to find a prospective date because I don't know their details, right? Whereas on a dating app, that their details are right there. What their interests are, who what they're looking for, whether it's looking for short term or a one night stand or something long term or whatever. That's all part of their profile, right?
Mhm.
Whether they smoke or have pets or whatever they like to do, like all of that's part of the profile. So I can already just opt in or out based on some of the characteristics they've shared.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in that respect, but I also know that it depends on the one of the things I think that is another way as well to not worry about, I guess, but is to be mindful of is that not everyone is always super honest about their profiles.
Correct.
They may
But
be
that's the same
married
in
and
person
they're
as it is
stepping
online.
out. That's true. So they may be married and stepping out on their spouse, and their spouse doesn't know that they have a profile.
Right.
um, they or they may have qualities about them that are misleading, deceitful, and
Hmm.
so I guess like you're right, it's in person. But I guess one of the things too is, yes, you get all of those things out of the way, like the things that they tell you, and then the in-person meetup gives you go by your, hopefully, gut instinct. Is this a good fit for
Hmm.
me? um, and I think probably if it was me in the dating world, like just today, just say that's where I found myself, I think I would approach it a little bit differently. If I was to be on a dating app, I probably would approach it as, okay, I want to talk to you a few times on the phone. I want
Hmm.
to get to know you a few
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
because I
I
think
agree.
then you can kind of get that. I can get that vibe from you, like, okay, who are you? And then, just really going deep, because that's what I find is a lot of people, a lot of the time, I think it takes away the pressure of being in person and sharing about who you are. When you're on the other end of the phone, it's like you almost feel like you're in your safe space, right, where you live.
Right.
So you've
Yeah.
already created a safe environment for yourself to share. So I kind of think that would be how I would approach things. So that
Right.
would be my suggestion if
Right.
someone is going to use dating apps, that maybe you approach it from the point of, okay, I like this person by what they said about them. I'd like to get to know them a little bit more. But before we
Right.
even meet up, I'd like to talk to them a few times on the telephone. And it doesn't have to be spread out into weeks, but maybe it's a few days that before you meet up.
Mhm.
Like, I'd like to get to know you a little bit more. Let's talk about life, and you get those questions out there, because when people are on dating apps, if they're saying, I'm looking for that special someone, I'm looking for that lifetime partner, then you can actually ask deeper level questions on those
Mhm.
phone calls, so
Mhm.
that when you're kind of, okay, so this is who I am, this is what I'm looking for, this is why I'm on this app, and do they meet the same qualifications that I'm looking for, and vice versa, then we can meet up, and it's like, okay, now we can now we've learned a little bit more about each other. Now in person, is the chemistry there, and then we can
Yeah.
build from there. And I think that's how I would approach it.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you that it can be a really good way to, like, have that ice already broken about, these are the things that I like to do, or this is what my expectation is. This is what I'm looking for on this
Mhm.
app. I'm not looking for a long term relationship, or I am, those types of things. So I
Yeah.
I do agree with you there.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the thing I think that I was trying to do, and I think we're both trying to do it, is that we each have a different perspective, right? And there isn't necessarily a right or a wrong way. There's many different good ways to date, right? Good ways to find people that you can look, that you can, date. Um, another one is the what do they call it? The in-person social media, that meetup that I was talking about, the meetup.com or the meetup app. Um, that's what they are. They're like a social media site, but they intend for you to meet in person. So on Meetup, you find different groups, interest groups, walking groups, hiking groups, running groups, to business groups and science groups and hobby groups. And you know I've actually found this particular dance club, and actually the lady that I'm currently visiting, um, I found all of that through this meetup app. I moved to a new city. I was looking to dance, and so I went on to Meetup to see if there was any dance clubs in the area. And sure enough, there was. So um, it's a way to go out and physically meet new people, right? Because the Meetup app is designed to create people and clubs that meet in person, and they have a shared interest, whatever that interest might be, whether it's basket weaving or raising rats. I mean, you have all kinds of things that you can keep in common. Um, and as a matter of fact, a lot of people do use Meetup to join clubs, to join various different clubs, to see if there's somebody they can hang out with. As a matter of fact, there are one of the common clubs on Meetup is a singles group, where just single people get together, not necessarily with the intention of dating, but so that we have single friends. Because as we get older, a lot of our friends are coupled up, so it's hard to do the things we want to do with our couples friends. So we want to find singles friends to go and do single things with, right? We actually hung out with a singles group, or it was just a social group actually. We went for dinner before we went dancing, and that particular group, most of them don't go dancing. It was a different group of people. So we hung out socially, and that's one of the things that her and I were doing. Her and I are not a couple. We're just friends. We just went out and did friend things together, right? So and I enjoy that. But that's another way that we can go out and meet people. And those groups, again, they're based on your interests. So whether they have alcohol or food or whatever involved depends on the group. Some of them do meet up for dinner. Some of them do meet up at a club or a bar or a pub. But many of the time they meet up, to go for a hike. They'll wear their hiking clothes, or they'll wear their running clothes, or whatever. Sometimes it's an exercise group, or sometimes they'll meet at somebody's house and play board games. You know, um, Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, had made a board game. He no longer is associated with that board game, but he made a board game here a bunch of years ago. And there are different meetup groups who meet up to play that game. It's a business related game. So, there's all kinds of reasons to get together, people you can get together with. And so this is another way to just go out and meet new people. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things that I suggest to my clients who are finding themselves isolated and alone, is I suggest that they just go and join Meetup, make a profile, and on the profile, share some of your interests. And as you share your interests, you'll find other people who are interested in those same things. You'll find groups where they get together and discuss those things, or do those things. You can make friends. Just find other people and make friends. And quite honestly, dating is kind of a numbers game. The more people you meet, the more likely you are to meet someone that you're interested in and who's interested in you. So just get out there and meet people. And how you meet people is up to you. You can do it through an app, or through social media, through online, through a dating app, or you can do it by going out to the club, going out with your friends, or you can do it by joining a meetup group and getting together with people. Or you can literally just talk to people in the grocery line when you're waiting to pay for your groceries. Whatever you do to meet people, that's how you find people to date. Just do me a favor and talk to all the people, or at least many people. Don't just talk to the ones you're interested in, because that looks a little bit creepy, right? Make friends. You don't have to make, they don't have to be long-term friends. They don't have to be fast friends. They don't have to be good friends, but just make casual friendships with people, including the ones you're interested in. It'll help you become less creepy when you actually do find somebody you're interested in.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to talk about with respect to this, because I know it's probably really super easy for yourself and me to go out to put ourselves in public places and
Hmm.
meet people, right? But what about those people who actually are, it is, it's almost feels like a challenge to them. You know, they, I guess, get put into this box, for lack of a better terminology, of being an introvert. You
Hmm.
know, I think everybody has the tendency to have introverted tendencies as well as extroverted, just depending on the situation. So, how would you approach that? Because I know that you work a lot with people, especially around relationships and the boundary, personal boundaries, and things like that.
Hmm.
And so, how would I don't know if you've ever come across clients that way, that are,
Hmm.
especially when you're encouraging them to get out to meet people. How do you help them with that mindset to have the courage and the confidence to really actually, if they are looking for that special someone, to go to meetup groups or things like that, to put themselves in social situations to meet someone and to not put themselves in a corner somewhere and not talk to anybody? How do you manage that?
So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that, because that is a combination of what I just said about joining meetup groups and what you were talking about before about talking to them on the phone. So I have one of the things that Meetup has done recently, because of what the world just went through with the pandemic, they started making their groups available to meet online. You can meet over like Zoom or StreamYard or Skype or something like that. They're an app built on interpersonal relationships, interpersonal, like being together in person. However, we couldn't do that for a while, so they allowed people to get together virtually. Um, and a couple of my clients, as they joined these groups, rather than going to actually join in the activities, they just joined the group and started talking with some of the people in the group, like just over the phone or even just through texting, depending on how introverted or shy or reserved or even fearful in some cases that they might be. I usually ask them to interact with the people in the group, especially the moderators or showrunners of the group, like the people who run the groups, because they tend to be a little more open to people wanting to be curious, or they tend to be a little more, um, you know, I won't say extroverted, but socially conscious. They're not always. There are some very awkward people who run groups, but most of the time, um, they're more socially conscious. So, I that's what I usually do is I say, look, join the group, like go actually physically join the group if you can. But if that's too much for you, get a hold of some of the people in the group, message them, and ask some of them if they'll, get on the phone and talk with you a little bit. Like you were saying, sometimes just getting to know a person on the phone. And I always suggest they do so with the intention of making friends, because the person we're going to date is likely coming from a prospective friendship pool. So not they're not necessarily a friend first. I'm not advocating that we should always be friends first. What I'm suggesting is if you intend to be friends first, then if there's no chemistry, you can still be friends, right? And if you intend to be friends first, then it removes a lot of the awkwardness, the discomfort of, are they interested in me? Am I interested in them? Where's this going to go? It removes a lot of that. It frees you up to just decide, you know what, this person's kind of cool. We're all here to play this particular board game, or we're all here to, to share this passion we have, or talk about our pets, or whatever the group is about. We're all here for that. So at very least, we can be friends. And if there's somebody here I'm interested in, then, and if they're, especially if they're a client, then I will talk to them about how to present that interest. Um, but if not, like, just if there's somebody that you're interested in, just, you know, gently and politely, share that interest. Say, look, I'm interested in you. This, are you interested in me? Could we explore this a little bit farther? And you'll get an answer. Most of the time, it'll be no. But that's the case with the dating game. Is, you're interested in people, but they're not always interested in you. So as long as you're there to be friends first, if there's somebody that you're interested in, they're interested in you, then you can either be friends and develop into a relationship, or you can skip the friendship and just test out a relationship. Like, but if you're there to be friends first, then it removes the discomfort of, well, I joined this group and there was nobody there to date, so now I got to quit joining. You don't have to change hobbies all the time. You can keep joining. You can keep going to this group and just have a bunch of friends, right? So, I advocate for joining these groups for the social contact rather than the potential partner, because within the people that could be friends is where you'll find your potential partners. When you found, for example, your potential, or your prospective husband, the guy who eventually became your husband, um, you were dancing with people. You were out with friends, right? So you're in a social environment, and the worst that would happen is you meet people that you don't like. The average that would happen is you meet people you'd be friends with. They'll either join your friendship group and become friends with the rest of you, or you just, you know, don't like them. And then every once in a while, there's somebody that you're interested in, and you pursue that. And maybe you don't become friends with. Sometimes some people becomes friends first, and some people don't. But that's not the point. The point is it's the same group of people you're drawing from, right? And that's what I suggest to my clients that are asking that very question. They're like, I'm all alone all the time. I'm like, yeah, getting a boyfriend or a girlfriend isn't going to cure your loneliness. Having friends will. Once you
Hmm.
have friends, then we can talk about having a partner.
Yeah, I love that. I think what I really like about what you said was, it's going to these social interactions that might be for singles, that is for the intention of maybe finding a significant other, is that approach it from a just a social way of meeting new people, of getting people into your life so you're not alone.
Yeah,
And when you approach it that way, it's less there's less pressure on
yeah,
finding the one. There's always this, and especially too when you have your family or even friends saying, chiming in your ear saying, when are you going to settle down, when are you going to get married, are you going to have kids, all of these things. And that's a lot of pressure in itself when you have people that are always saying these things to you. Or or you might hear someone say, oh, so you're never going to find love if all you do is sit at home. And so then that makes you feel even worse. So
yeah,
I love the fact that your approach is, when you are working with your clients, is that it doesn't have to be about finding the one. It can just be about finding different people to hang out with, to
yeah,
get it, to create conversation, to maybe find that person. But there's not just the one for everyone. It's not like you're born and there's only one person in the world for you. It might feel that way at times when if you've been with someone that you've been in love with and they've broken up with you, or the relationship ended and it was a bad break, and you're thinking you'll never find anyone ever again, thinking that that was your one chance. But it's not true, because then that would make it really super hard for people in life to actually get
yeah,
together if there was only one person.
yeah,
So, and especially, what if your one person was on the other side of the world? So
yeah.
there's that. So I
Or got
really
hit
believe.
by a bus.
Exactly. So I really think it's important that when people are out there, like, okay, yeah, you're busy, you've created this lifestyle that's really working well for you, and now you're ready to find someone else. Like, where do you start? Like, we've given you a lot of great options of where to
Yeah,
start and how to go about it. And especially if you are someone who is perhaps shy, and is, like you had said, Andy, we've come out of this new we've gone through this shift in the world, especially because of the pandemic, you know, being told you can't go out, to then being told it's okay to go out. And when I personally, I can just tell from personal experience, being told not to in the beginning was like, okay, well, I don't like that. But then it got
right,
getting used to not going out, and then told it's okay. And it's like, okay, now I don't know what to do, because I've been
right.
so out of the game. So of socializing with people. So I really think it's a great way, like what, how you framed that. It's less pressure around finding the person, or your person, if you think that's
Yeah,
going to be the one that you spend your life with, but rather going out and just having conversations with people, putting yourself out there in social situations,
Yeah.
being in being out there and actually enjoying life, because it's not just about finding that person, it's actually about getting out there and enjoying life, because
Yeah.
you might actually start enjoying something and you're like, oh, I gotta add this to my list. I want that person.
Yeah.
You might like to be actually to want to enjoy doing some of the things that I do, like you were saying,
Yeah.
going dancing.
Yeah.
And so you want it, like it's like enjoying life and getting to know who you are and what brings you joy. But and then when you're out in these social situations, social gatherings, then you can like, oh, these are the things, these are my people. I really enjoy being in these social gatherings. Now how can I find more of these? And in the process, with when you take away the pressure of looking for that significant other that you want to your lifetime partner, all of a sudden you will it happens this way, and it's happened like multiple to different people that I know. This is how it's always happened. When
Yes.
you're not really looking is when love really finds you. And that's
Yeah.
what happened with me, because I had been out of a relationship for I'd been in a long term relationship for 7 years, and we'd broken up, and I'd only really been broken up with him for not even 6 weeks. Yeah, actually 6 weeks, close to
Hmm.
that, 3 to 6 weeks, something like that. I can't even remember. It's been so long ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was determined that I didn't want to be with anybody. I wasn't looking, and I thought, you know what? If I don't find the right person, because I actually did put my eggs in one basket, thinking that there was only the one at that
Right.
time, because my heart
Right.
was broken. But
Yeah.
I realized at the time, was like, okay, if I don't find anyone right now, I'm good with that. I'm good with how my life goes. And that's when it happens, because you're like,
Yeah.
you give over to just experiencing life and getting out and enjoying your life, and all of a sudden someone will come into your cross paths with you, and you can decide whether to go down the same road with them and see how that works out. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But putting
Yeah.
yourself out there and meeting people without that serious expectation of finding the one allows you, just takes the pressure away, and it
Yeah.
allows you to enjoy your life. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. There's another aspect to it. There's a psychological aspect to it. When you are looking for a partner and that's your focus, you act a certain way. You put out a certain energy, to speak in that way, in that tone. Um, you come across in a certain way that isn't attractive to most people. You might not feel desperate, but you come across as desperate. I actually had one client where I was he was looking for a partner. He'd been single for a couple of decades, and he really wanted to find somebody. He was getting up in years, his clock was ticking, all that sort of thing, and he really just wanted to find somebody. And I said, yeah, and as long as that's your focus, you're not going to find that person, because as long as that's your focus, the people you like, the women that you're interested in are going to see desperation. They're going to see, you're going to come across as somebody who's not interested in friendship. You're going to come across as somebody who's only looking to, say, sleep with somebody, even though that's probably not your focus. That's how you'll come across to them. I said, quite honestly, the best way to get what you want is to be friends. Learn how to be friends with women. Learn how to be friends with those people you're interested in, because that way, if they're not interested in you, you can still be friends, right? If there is a shared interest, you can pursue that, but most of the time there isn't, right? I don't know what the numbers are, but there's a percentage of people that you'll be interested in that are not interested in you, right? There's a certain percentage of people that you know, and it's a high number. Somewhere between 60 and 95% of the people that you're interested in won't be interested in you. That's fine, because the people that are interested in you, most of them you're also not interested in, right? It's again, it's I don't want to say it's a numbers game, but it kind of is. Just meet a lot of people, and if you suddenly reject everybody as a friend who could potentially be a partner, and you reject them as a friend because you pursued them as a partner and they said no. Now you're just pushing people out of your life over and over and over again, and you're feeling more and more rejected and more lonely. You're creating those negative emotional connections. If you learn how to be friends first and you pick a potential partner from your pool of potential friends, then if that doesn't work out, you can still be friends, and the rejection is a lot smaller. The loneliness is a lot less. The negative emotional connections are much, much smaller. They're greatly reduced. And that's the psychological benefit of joining people, joining groups, meeting people with the intention of being friends first. With, and I'm not suggesting that you have to be friends. I'm saying join with that intention. It's the come from, it's the energy you put out to the world, it's how you show up to people, it's the first impression they get of you. If you're looking for a partner, they can see you looking them up and down and looking for love. They can see that, like they sense it. Even if you are scientifically doing all the right things, it's the energy you put out. They can sense that. We can all sense it. We don't necessarily know why, but we can. So if you're going out looking to meet people, make sure you're looking for them first with the intention of being friends. And then from that pool of people who are prospective friends, you can choose the ones you're interested in. It puts out a different energy. You come across in a different way. You feel differently to other people, right? You and I, you're a woman, I'm a man. There's if either one of us came across as looking for a person to be in a relationship with, we wouldn't have made it past that first meeting, right? So we both of us, you're married, I'm single, and I was single when we met. If because we both came across looking for a friendship, looking for to connect with other coaches and just hang out and do things, this is what created the foundation that we could then build something from. And we've actually become quite close as friends, right? And that this is what allows that to be. And had there been any chemistry and had we both been single and available, something might have happened. But it wasn't. And because it wasn't, we didn't have to have that rejection and that awkward and that loneliness. We didn't have to have that. We were able to just build a friendship because that's what we were there for in the first place, right? We didn't have to worry about all that negative emotion. So it is really about the come from. It's about what your intentions are in the first place, and that's what attracts people to you. This is why people who aren't looking find the one they're looking for, because they're actually looking for friendships. They're looking for connections. They're just looking to hang out with more people. And that's when you do find the one you're looking for. You find when you're not looking. That's
Yeah.
and relationships are the biggest example of that.
Yeah. And you're just enjoying life. And that's what
You're
it
just
is. It's
enjoying
about
life.
enjoying your life.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we've just had such a great conversation around this, and really, I think there's so much that you can take from this, and we hope that if you have questions, that you'll send them to us and ask, let us know if there's something you want us to elaborate on more. But I really think that, and we'd also like to hear from you if you do go out and these are some of the
Yeah.
things that you do. How is that working out for you? Because we definitely would like to have those metrics as well, just to be able to help other people, because that's what this channel is all about. This
Right.
collaboration between myself and Andy is really about, again, you can see in our banner, helping people improve their relationships. Because
Yes.
when especially whether it's romantic, whether it's just professional, whether it's personal in your family life, friendships, we want you to have the best experience in your life, and approaching it from the perspective of just you know truly being who you are, and but in a way that is, you're not out there with these expectations of what other people should be, but just enjoying just being with other people.
Yes.
It just takes a lot of pressure off, even friendships. So
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this conversation today. It's been
Me too.
really fantastic. I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to wrap us up with before we sign off for the day.
No, actually, I think what we've said already is most of what I wanted to cover, and I think you covered what you wanted to cover, and I think the biggest advantage we have is that there is, a few different perspectives here. There's a couple of different perspectives. There's your ideas and my ideas, and they're not entirely the same, but they're close enough that they have the same core concepts, the same basic precepts, right? Meet people, get them, like, just enjoy life. Don't put the pressure on of looking for the one, because there's several, and they'll find you, you'll find them. It'll just happen. So that's really the takeaways, I think, um, from this episode. And thank you for the conversation. I really, like you said, I really enjoyed this conversation. This was a good one. So for you, our audience, as Leslie said, if there's anything that you've taken away from this, let us know. If you've tried any of these things, or intend to try any of these things, let us know. If there's something we can do to further explore this subject for you, that also let us know. We're interested. We'd like to know your thoughts and feelings on this subject. And yeah, for the algorithms, please like the video, please share it, subscribe to our channel. YouTube likes it when people interact with our stuff, and that helps it get out to more people who would be interested in these kinds of things. So please do that for us. It'll help us out greatly, and it'll help other people who are looking for the things that we've said in this video. So thanks a lot, and yeah, thank you, Leslie, for another wonderful conversation. I absolutely love these conversations that I have with you.
Me as well.
Yeah.
I do as
So
well.
thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so we hope that you have a great weekend. Remember, enjoy your weekend. Don't make it just all about work, but make sure that you get out there and have some fun. Get out there and do some things that you enjoy doing. And have a great week. And we'll see you again next Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.